Hi, it's Richard Bromwell here. We're going to have a bit of a walk and a talk through the Charterhouse Classic and Vintage Car Auction coming up at the Haynes International Motor Museum on Wednesday the 6th of July. Now, we've been busy out and about getting some pretty interesting and varied motors. Now, this is one of the larger vehicles. Here we go. It's a 1959. It's an Albion Chieftain. It's a drop side lorry. It's a Somerset truck all its life, and it kind of takes you back to watching that great film Hell Drivers. There we go. Now, this is just two family owners from new. It's not come out of its resting place for about 20 years now. It's sadly from a deceased estate and being sold without reserve, and actually we're going to leave this one in situ where it is. We're not going to bring this one to the auction, but it is going to be sold without reserve to a new bidder. Another no reserve vehicle. Now this is a little bit different, isn't it? Here we've got a 1980 Talbot Sunbeam 1 litre LS. There we go. It's one lady owned from new. It's done, I know, just over 12,000 miles. Again, another no reserve vehicle, and that's coming out of a barn in Wales. Something a little bit different to the Talbot. There we go. This is a 2000 Audi RS4. Yeah, the twin turbo 2.7 V6 engine. Here we go. It's Guernsey registered. We've done quite a lot of work for the owner recently. It's one owner, 41,000 miles from new, and that really is one to sort of keep and to put onto one side. Next up, we're going back in the years now. We've got a 1956 Jaguar Mark 1. It's a 2.4. It's a manual with overdrive. Pretty looking there, sitting on its wire wheels. This was restored quite a few years ago by Coopercraft, and they also fitted some of their Coopercraft brakes on it. And this one's estimated between £13,000 and £15,000. Moving on now to the next incarnation, the Jaguar Mark 2. This has got the bigger 3.8 litre engine. Here we go. And this one's an automatic. This is a one family owned vehicle from new. It's gone from a grandfather to a grandson. Rather bizarrely, because they actually had the same initials and same name, DVLA have decided that actually it's owned by the same person since 1960. There we go. Good old DVLA. And that's nicely restored, bodily restored a few years ago, and estimated between £17,000 and £19,000. Next up here, we've got the 1977, the Renault 4 TL. Here we go in the metallic bronze. Don't come a-knocking if the Renault's rocking. Here we are. My dad had a yellow one of these. I love that. He bought it actually just to cart the dogs around in. What a luxury that was. Basic. This has done 45,000 miles and is a bit of a minter, really. Estimate on that between £7,000 and £9,000. Yes, a lot of interest in it already, and I feel certain it will sell well. Another bronze metallic car, this time is a 1981, the MGB. It's an LE Roadster, the limited edition one. Here we go. This has got overdrive, leather interior, wire wheels. There we go, all the bells and whistles, nicely restored. There we go, ready for some drop top summer fun. Next up, we're going to have a bit of a jog through a trio of Volvos. First up here, we've got the 1968, the P1800S. And this is a one family owned vehicle from new. The son's had it for a few years. He spent about £14,000 on having the bodywork restored the other day, and still presenting really well in that British racing green. Next up was another 1968 Volvo. This time it's an Amazon estate. It's a 221, and this had a lot of expenditure done on it back in 2005. The owners put a roof rack on it. It's just a cool thing, isn't it? It's got quite a few sort of subtle upgrades for some sort of fast road motoring. And finally, the trio of the Volvos here. We're going to move forward to 1994. It's a 480 GT. It's one lady owned from new, although her husband, being obviously a captain in the Royal Navy, he put his name on it. So basically she's had it since new, and rare to see today, and sort of modestly estimated around about sort of a couple of £1,000, that one. Sadly, she's giving up driving now. Next up, from another lady client, here we go. This time it's a 1967 Chevrolet Camaro RS. It's been dry stored for about 7 years. Sadly, her husband passed away, and some drop top summer fun with that, requiring some recommissioning. Estimate on that between sort of £14,000 and £16,000. Now we've got another American car. This time we're going forward a couple of years to 1969, and this a Ford Mustang Mark 1 Super Cobra Jet. It's got the whopping great big 7-litre engine with the NASCAR bits and pieces chucked into it. It's got its Marty report here. The owners recently relocated to the West Country, and it's sort of surplus to his needs and lifestyle now, and that's a properly sorted car, estimated at £50,000 to £60,000. Now we're going to move across to There's some Germans here we are. This is one of my favourite cars on the sale. It's a 1966 Mercedes-Benz 230S, nicely sorted car. Here we go. It's in the white with a blue interior. It's an automatic, nicely sorted motor. That we go. Ex-South African, good body on it. Here we go. Estimate on that between £11,000 and £13,000. Also another good body which had a lot of money spent on is a 1972 Datsun. It's a 240Z. This was owned for a long time by the client. He had a lot of work spent on it recently, so he could go rallying with one of his sons. So 3-point harnesses. It's got upgrades left, right and centre, and that's estimated between £34,000 and £36,000. Quite the opposite to the Datsun here with its rally bits and bobs. Here we go. It's a 1932 Austin 7 boat-tailed, and what a pretty looking car there. Needs a bit of paint, or actually, like most of us, just use it as it is, and that's estimated pretty and rare little boat-tailed Austin 7, ideal for hill climbing or popping down the shops or going out on some club runs. Estimate between £8,000 and £10,000. Another car, this is long-term ownership, 1952, the Morgan Plus 4. It's a drop-head coupe, lovely there in the blue with the red interior, twin mounted rear spares. This was originally bought to compete in the 1952 Monty. Sadly, they changed the rules so you couldn't drive around a convertible. This one here has been owned since 1971 and was beautifully restored in the 1990s and presenting incredibly well today that I couldn't believe it was restored 30 years ago. Estimate on that ran about the £30,000 to £35,000. Now we're going a little bit more modern. Here we go. We've got a Mini. It's a 2001 Mini. It's a John Cooper Works. Here we go. It's got two owners. The first owner ended up selling it to the garage owner who looked after it for him. It's done under 12. Well, it's actually done 12,692 miles. Here we go. It's got lots of little special John Cooper Works bits and bobs on it, twin exhaust pipes, rear wash wipe. Again, that's all standard. It's even got its certificate because it's one of the last 50 made, and that's estimated between £23,000 and £25,000. Another Cooper here. This time it's a 1965 Morris Mini Cooper. Now this is long-term ownership. This is owned by the client for 40 years. He actually bought it from his brother, and for 35 years of that, yeah, it's spent its life actually at the Haynes International Motor Museum. So we're going to wheel that one around the corner. Clearly needing some recommissioning work here. I think it's a Bournemouth car, and estimate on that between £18,000 and £20,000. Another great car here, which has been repainted as the 1991 Jaguar XJS in the Kingfisher blue with the doeskin leather interior. Nice registration number, you can see it on there, J8 XJS. This was repainted by a Jaguar Land Rover approved body shop. Here we go, so it's properly sorted. An estimate on that around about £8,500 to £10,000, and I'm sure that's going to be well admired at the auction. Another blue car, this time a 1975 Stag. Again, long-term ownership. This has been owned for 14 years. It's an automatic. The paint's not quite as good as it looks in the photograph there. The photographs are being kind, but again, it was bought as a birthday present for the owner, but sadly he's now not driving as much as he'd like to, and so he's put it into the auction at an estimate sort of £8,000 to £10,000. Again, here we go, another Triumph, here we go. This time it's a TR5, the PI. It's a Surrey top. It's got extras such as overdrive and wire wheels. This has been owned since 1971 by the owner. It's covered only about 56,000 miles in that time. He worked for a financial institution and spent most of his life working abroad, and decided to sell this one now because he's not using it. Estimate on that, if you know your TRs, the 5 is one of the rarest. Here we go, and estimate on that is around about the £34,000 to £36,000. Moving on to a couple of VWs, here we go. And this one here is a 1967 Beetle 1500. Two lady owners from new. The current lady, she's in her 80s and is giving up driving. Next up is the 1976, the bay window. This has had a huge amount of money spent on it. We've got a 100 brake horsepower Heritage engine. It's all been restored. Perfect for that staycation. You want to go to Glastonbury, you want to go touring, that's going to be one for you. Estimated around about the £20,000. And just to end up now, no auction would be complete without some Land Rovers. First up, here we go. We've got a 1973 Land Rover 109 Safari. This is two owners, both of them in Taunton. There we go. It's never been owned by anyone outside of Taunton, and that's what sort of £5,000 to £7,000. And finally here, the 1977 the Land Rover, the 88. This is a Royal Mail recovery truck. Here we go, and this has been been in a museum, and this one's estimated between sort of £6,000 and £8,000. So there's a quick little walk and talk through the classic and vintage car auction, and hopefully we'll see you at the sale.